Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the BBC News at 1. The Prime Minister Theresa May has told the German Chancellor and the President of the European Commission that her timetable for Britain leaving the EU hasn't changed, despite yesterday's High Court ruling that Parliament must have a say about when the process should begin. In two telephone calls this morning to Angela Merkel and Jean-Claude Juncker, Theresa May insisted that she will invoke Article 50 by the end of March. Her attempts to reassure came as the pro-Brexit Conservative MP Stephen Phillips resigned because of what he called irreconcilable policy differences with the government about the country's departure from the EU. Here's our political correspondent, Ben Wright. Let's head to Kevin Connolly in Brussels. Plenty of attempts to reassure this morning. Kevin, what's your sense of how Britain is being viewed at the moment, given the events of the last 24 hours? Now, it is the end of the last full week of campaigning before Americans go to the polls to elect a new president. Who wins the White House will depend on victory in certain key states, including Arizona. Both Republicans and Democrats have been battling for votes there over issues which have dominated the campaign: immigration and border security. From Arizona, James Cook sent us this report. Well, let's head now to Pittsburgh and join our correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue. And you're there, Gary, because we're expecting to see Hillary Clinton there a little later today. But what's your assessment, with really only a few days to go, of the race as it stands now? And just to tell you, if you'd like to, so many former BHS staff affected by this. Emma, what's your understanding of when a deal might be concluded, if it can be?
Jane, there are...
All right, Emma, thank you. Emma Simpson. The time is 17 minutes past 1. Our top story this lunchtime. The Paris deal to combat climate change has come into force less than a year after it was agreed. It obliges almost all nations to cut greenhouse gas emissions, although many critics say the targets aren't ambitious enough. Here's our environment analyst, Roger Harrabin. Now, the number of children going on school trips to the theatre has fallen in recent years, so the National Theatre has decided to take the arts into the classroom. It's begun screening plays in secondary schools around the UK, and today the scheme is being rolled out to primary schools. Our social affairs correspondent Elaine Dunkley has been to find out how it's working at Shenley Academy in Birmingham. Now, what would we Brits do if we didn't talk about the weather? It is why the BBC launched its Weather Watchers scheme a year ago. The online community now has 130,000 members, and our weather presenter Matt Taylor has been looking at some of its most significant finds so far. Well, let's find out what's happening today. Thomas, that is it from the BBC News at 1 today. It's goodbye from me, and on BBC One we join the BBC's news teams wherever you are. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.